Well, I think that's got to be a record. First of all, Catherine Mulchick probably was close. She was there for quite a while too. I'd say hang in there as long as you can, because retirement isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Do you remember the first time you met Ardi?
I do, actually. I was with what was called the UYA program, University Year for Action, which was like a predecessor to AmeriCorps. And I was in that program at Doane College, and we had a group called Practical Enterprises for People, which was a bunch of students and former students who were doing good things in the community. And Ardi and we were trying to figure out what things to do. And Ardi and her boss at the time, Jean Emery, and the executive director at the time, the three of them showed up to talk to us about what Blue Valley had to offer so we could place our people in to help them. You know, Ardi was probably pretty new at that time at Blue Valley. I don't know if I want to say this because it's her 50th, but none of the people at our group went with Blue Valley at the time.
Ardi hired me. I was 21 years old, and she took a chance on me. So yep, she hired me. She was my first and only boss here. When I started, I was a kid. I was 21 years old, and so I feel like I kind of grew up with Ardi. She helped me grow up, and she was such a strong influence on not only my career, my career with Blue Valley, but my life in general. She just is one of those people that you're immediately drawn to. She's almost motherly, and there's these things that she does. You know, she starts laughing, and she has this unmistakable laugh, and then she'll cover her mouth, you know, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Probably the thing I think of most with Ardi is her contagious laugh. Anybody that knows Ardi, whether it's an employee of Blue Valley or maybe a partner that we've worked with, knows that she has a very contagious laugh. You can hear her down the hallway, not even be in the conversation, hear her laugh, and you can't help but want to laugh along with her. Also, the compassion that Ardi has for her family. Her face absolutely lights up when she talks about her husband, her kids, and especially her grandkids. I feel like although I didn't know her grandkids, I feel like I got to grow up with them, hearing about their sporting activities and their accomplishments. It lit up her face whenever she talks about them.
I still can't get over the fact she's been there 50 years, but that's a long time at one place. But she sort of was Miss Blue Valley, I guess you could say, or Mrs. Blue Valley. The nice thing about Ardi is that she looked at it more than just a job. She sort of saw it as a calling, I think, and you could tell because she had a lot of strong feelings to help people, and I think that was just not only at work but even in her private life. She was that way, very active in her church.
Probably the first thing I think of is doing orientation with her and hearing her tell her story about when she came to Blue Valley and how she really wanted to serve people. She's very compassionate. She really wants to touch as many lives as possible, and you can see that through the different programs that she developed, the funding that she brought in, which helped the agency but also helped the communities.
So actually, when I first started and moved into the director role, Ardi had been covering the fiscal department for a small period of time. So she was immediately a mentor to me and helped me learn my role and what all we had to do. I felt like it was just Ardi and I as a team in the fiscal department for a little while there. So we had so much that there had been some longtime people who had just kind of left without a lot of transition planning. So we had to step in and just see, kind of from ground one, what had to be done. And so Ardi was so helpful with that.
I think it was like a family within her department. The people who she worked with were like family to her. And I bet you some of the people who've been with her from way back would still have fond memories of her. It was always like that. Her people were very close to her.
Ardi's just that warm person that you can talk to. Anything that's going on, I feel like over the years we have a lot of common interests. We love, sports things, Husker, and just so we have a lot of fun talking about some of that stuff. She makes amazing treats and desserts, and so that's another thing too, which I enjoy that sometimes. So yeah, we have a lot that we have similarities there.
Ardi was from day one a mentor to me, very passionate about Blue Valley and what we do, and she brought that passion to our leadership team. She would give advice on fiscal. Anybody that knows Ardi, as she worked with Blue Valley, not only was she the department director, but she also filled in as interim director in other capacities throughout the agency because she has such a wide knowledge of community action and of all the programs that we have.
At one of the leadership retreats, Rick had asked each director to plan a succession plan. And so we were each going to go around. Well, Ardi showed up a little late to that meeting. So we had all jokingly said we should all go around and say Ardi should be our replacement. I think I started. I'm a horrible liar. Can't keep a straight face. So I said, Ardi would be my replacement, which wasn't that far off because she had in fact covered fiscal when we were, in between directors. Then I think housing went. She had covered housing. Then weatherization. At one point in her 50 years at this point, she had covered weatherization. I think Ryan Bailey went, and of course she had been the prior FCS director, so that was obvious. I think by the time it got to Head Start, and then maybe HR, it was like finally she's like, okay, you guys, but that was just like the perfect example of how much, and what value she was to everybody, because really it was like definitely believable that she could have filled all those roles.
She can be a lot of fun. I've teased her an awful lot over the years. I can remember one time we were at a national conference, and Ardi always walks fast. And here we had about 4 or 5 of us were walking, and we were walking across some bridgeway of some sort, and Ardi took off, and I was getting older and my legs were starting to bother me a little bit, and so I was walking a little slower, and I just turned to the other people and I said, let's stop and see how long she goes before she notices. And so we all just stopped on the bridge, or walkway or whatever. It was an internal bridge kind of thing. And she just went till she got to the doors across the other side, turned around and then saw that we used to do things like that back and forth. I like to tease her, and she and I knew how to hit each other's buttons too. We used to do that a lot.
Sonia Workman and I used to tease her, and we would have this joke that we were going to one day create this book called the Ardi-isms, just little things that she would do that would just crack us up so much. And to even say them now, people would be like, well, that's not even really funny, but it is funny if you know her and you know how she is and who she is. So every time something would happen or she would say or do something, we'd be like, oh, there's one for the book.
So we were coming home from a board meeting, and she had announced her retirement, and as it was getting closer, I said, what are you going to do after you retire? And she's like, I might find something 1 or 2 days a week. And I thought instantly, I'm like, I have the perfect position for you. So we kind of talked and chatted, and I said, we were just not sure with that transition. I really didn't have anybody that was had the free time, to take on all the reporting that she had done. And so it worked out perfectly that she, and she can get done in a day or 2 a week, what it would take somebody else probably full time, just because she does have all that wealth of knowledge. I mean, most of these programs she started from day one. So whether it's the reporting, the rules, regulations you have to follow, or the monitorings that happen, once a year or sometimes less often. And so she just has all that experience. And so she's, just a great resource for all of us here to go to with any questions we might have that pop up.
There was one day she came in my office and she said to me, I think you're not being challenged enough. And I think you could do these things, which those things were become aroma trainer and CCAP. And I think you could do those. I see a lot of potential in you. And it's like a light switch. It's something switched in my brain. And it's not that I wasn't giving it my all before, but just something changed in me knowing that she thought I could do these things. And so I did those things, and I felt confident doing those things. And it's because she gave me the opportunity. I never would have done it without her. So she's just my mentor, and I'm just so honored to have been able to work under her and with her. I would just say to her, thank you for everything that you've done and everything that you continue to do. And you really, honestly made it look easy. So thank you.
I would thank her for her dedication and to the 50 years of helping people, changing lives. And I want her to know that she will always be a legendary piece of Blue Valley Community Action.